And did you see that table? Well, you weren't there.
Yeah, I was.
Oh, you were there. Dom wasn't. The table when
I
they
was there.
you were there for a short time.
Yes.
When they put the schedules out on the table, I felt so sorry for Jeremy and Heather. It
Dude,
was
they
like
got bombarded.
It was like a hockey fight around that table. I mean, everybody.
I was waiting for somebody to throw a flag and, put somebody in the box for 5 minutes for fighting.
Yeah, it was. I stayed away till towards the end, and I was lucky to get a schedule from each one. Left them at home. Thank goodness that Joel had printed them out for us. I know everybody's probably seen them, but I want to highlight some of the races throughout the season at each track, starting with Sunset. They open their season on April 14th with the Dustin Off season opener. Super late models, IMCA modified, street stocks, pure stocks, and 4Bs open their season. The tight little bull ring down there, the red clay. We've talked about it. That's a fun track to watch some racing.
Yes, it is.
I'm a big fan of, it's my favorite place definitely to watch the dwarf cars.
I would agree. It's a very, it is as much of a paperclip as you can get at racetrack. I would even say more so than Martinsville or Bristol.
Shorter straightaways. I don't know if the corners are as tight. I mean,
the corners are tight. When you really think about it, the corners are pretty tight there. I mean, they're probably only 60 feet infield to infield.
Yeah, probably something like that. But the thing about that track, though, at Sunset, and we're going to talk about the schedule, but it is such it's a pretty technical track.
Very technical.
When you're talking about Sunset, Cottage Grove, and Willamette, I'd say of the three, Sunset's probably the most technical.
I would agree.
Not to say that the other two aren't, but to be fast at Sunset, especially in a late model, you can't screw up.
No.
You've got to be on the wheel and on point. Fun. It's a fun track. We spent a year there and had a good time doing it. Met some great people. They got a great crew. You talk about a tight racing community. Sunset has got that, and they're a close knit group of people, and just some really awesome people. And stepping up for the Bobby Memorial race, the Bobby Morley Memorial, on April 28th. That race, I think this is the second annual. Last year was.
Did they get it in last year? No, it rained out last year.
I think it did rain out, but this is the second annual on the schedule. Bobby was a very popular driver at Sunset when he passed, and everybody stepped up and they put this race together. And I know for a lot of the people there at Sunset, whether it's staff, drivers, whatever, that's one of the races there that is already just means a lot to them.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, anytime you have one of those memorial races, we have we have two of them on the schedule. Last year we had two of them on the schedule at Willamette, and those are hard.
They are.
They're hard for everybody, especially on the announcers and the media crews and the people that put them on. It's not an easy gig.
Not a lot of fun. Another highlight I think down there at Sunset is 519 Armed Forces Night. $5 admission for all military. I like seeing that kind of stuff. I love seeing a little something for the veterans and the people that give up a lot for this
country. Look at the classes they got on the card for that. The IMCA Modifieds, the Pure Stocks, Northwest Dwarfs, the 4Bs, and the Newbies.
The Newbies are the young kids in the four-cylinders. These kids are like 12, 13 years old, and getting the fields, making the transition from karts up into the stock car ranks. And it's funny to see some of those names because these are names we've watched kids in karts since they were 5 years old. Now transitioning up into the stock cars. Kind of makes you feel old sometimes when you see that,
Kind of makes you feel old.
Shut up, Joel.
I still feel young, bro.
Dom?
I'm fine. I'm just fine.
6-2. On 6-2, the Bud Light Ironman 100.
Ooh, and $3 beer night.
$3 beer night at Sunset.
Oh, boy.
You're going to have a packed house there. Pure Stocks, Northwest Dwarfs, 4Bs, and Newbies. 100 laps for the Pure Stocks.
Ooh,
I would get dizzy.
That's going to be a race.
That tight little track.
Kind of goes along with the Iron Giant type racing, but with a Pure Stock type division instead of the street stocks. I think the Pure Stocks are limited to a 2-barrel carburetor and a DOT-style tire.
I mean, after 15 laps in a main,
You're going to be you better be in shape. You better be in shape to power one of those things around for 100 laps, no doubt about it. 616, Rockstar presents Fan Appreciation Night. That is always a big hit at all the tracks here in the Northwest. You want to talk a little bit about the Fan Appreciation, Joel? I know it's a big thing because we bring all those race cars out and we set them up on the front stretch and open that gate.
And then the flood of people
Get
come
out of the way.
Yeah, it is really a great event because it gets the fans back in touch with the drivers, gets them down touching the race car, staying next to the car. You know, sometimes the nights drag on for families that have younger kids. They might leave before the last main, and then after the event's over, we open up the gate, and then everyone comes down on the track around the cars to talk with the winners. Now you can talk with all the drivers that are there. You can get up to the car, feel the car, touch the car if the driver will let you.
Well, and that's the thing is the drivers, you see a lot of drivers putting kids in the cars and taking pictures and giving away all kinds of stuff, whether it's shirts, hats, stickers. I mean, those kids walk out there with, it's like Halloween for some of them, you know what I mean?
Well, it was funny when I did it last year. All your neighbors, everybody comes down, and you just stand there.
Yeah.
And you don't know what to do anymore. It's like, yep,
Well,
we're all standing by the
but
car.
What's cool about that is you know, you stop the races. Now, what we typically eliminate the dash segment, and we bring all the race cars up onto the front stretch, and you might have 70, 75 race cars up there.
Yeah, it is quite impressive.
It's cool, and it's a neat thing for the fans. I know they really appreciate it because a lot of them after the races don't come down the front stretch anymore. It's late. They want to get home.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a one time a year. We get everybody out of the stands. You know, we do interviews, and they get right down there with the cars and hang out with their favorite drivers. They get to meet their favorite driver. Pretty cool deal. 627, Budweiser presents the 8th annual Wild West Modified Speed Week. Speed Week this year is going to be crazy. It's getting bigger and bigger every single year.
Let's see what else we have here.
What do we got here?
Topless Modifieds.
Oh, we're going to talk about that. Yeah, we'll kick that off here in just a minute. I know that the Modified Speed Week at Sunset, some drivers really, really like it. Some not so much.
Kenny Schrader loves it.
Yeah, he does. But he loves anywhere he goes. I mean, he's, you know.
But if you talk to him, where's his favorite racetrack in the whole country? Whether it's asphalt or dirt, Sunset Speedway in Banks, Oregon.
If he said it, he said it. I'm not going to argue with Kenny Schrader. I've met Kenny. You don't argue with Kenny.
You don't argue with any Kenny, even Kenny Wallace.
You can't argue with Kenny Wallace. You can't get a word in edgewise with that guy. I love Kenny Wallace, but the Wild West Modified Speed Week, that is one track that I think, especially as a modified driver, you either really like or you don't like because of the technicality of that, you know, and the bumping and the grinding, and that is the one track on that whole speed week that is going to test your patience.
That
it's not so much your physical. I mean, it'll test your physical stamina, not like Willamette does or not like Cottage Grove, but it will definitely test your patience.
I'll tell you one thing: the way the speed week schedule is this year, and we'll talk about that.
We're going to talk about it.
That's going to add something to this race. How the week is structured, or the 9 days.
This is the series, yeah.
It is going to really add a new element to the racing at Sunset Speedway.
Yeah. I think one of the most anticipated races of the year at Sunset is going to happen on 7/7, the 20th annual Jim's Thriftway Open Street Stock National 100. Now, we were there a couple years ago for the 100-lapper, and you heard me talk about it on the show, you know, the last couple of years. It's one race. That is the one race at when I called the races at Sunset that one year that I will not forget. The top 3 cars, okay, pay attention to this. I think it was like lap 54 or something, we did a competition yellow for fuel. And I go down to the track to do driver interviews, you know, which a lot of guys won't during the race. A lot of drivers don't like it. These guys were like all for it. I mean, these guys, you got to remember, it's hot outside. They're in a 100-lap feature. The leader, okay, had the rear end, had an issue with the rear end. A little bit of smoking, kind of hear something. He's leading. Second place was, I want to say, it was Arnie Case. Now, he might have been sitting third. Either way, Arnie had a transmission problem, was having to drive the race one-handed and hold the car in gear with his right hand. And Kyle Yak, I think when I interviewed, was second. And he had he had something going on, a technical issue or a mechanical issue. And all three of these cars finished 1, 2, 3, and I mean these guys were wheeling. I mean, and it wasn't like one guy got out and ran away. It was bump and grind the whole 100 laps, and it was just a fantastic show. If you guys want to see a great street stock 100 lapper, you can't miss that one at Sunset.
And that is not a racetrack you want to drive one-handed.
No, it's not. But, I mean, again, you're talking about Arnie Case. The guy could drive a semi one-handed on a road course and probably not get tired. Have you seen the size of that dude's arms?
Yeah, Popeye.
Yeah, he is not a little man.
He has him a can of spinach
he's
before he goes out
got him
there.
some top end strength. I'll tell you that. The guy he muscles a race car around. 714, the topless modifieds. That race presented by is it Dancing Bear?
Dancing Bear.
The winner gets paid $1,001 bills. Why? I was waiting for someone to ask. Joel, why do they get that?
Well, the establishment Dancing Bear is spelled
BARE.
and you can only imagine why they get paid in $1 bills.
I'm going to cover my ears.
Don't do it. Here's one I think you want to see. Well, they do have a 60 lap. This is interesting. 4B Bonanza.
But it's a 30-30.
Right. 60 lap four-cylinder race. They call them 4Bs, Hornets. They're going to run 30 laps the regular way.
Oh, no.
They're going to throw a caution, turn them around, and go 30 laps the other way.
Oh, that would be a horrible match.
That's going to be interesting. I want to know how that one turns out. I mean, that's going to be different.
See, nobody can make jokes about us always want to turn left.
Well, not on that night. Not on that night. One race you don't want to miss. You have to make this one if you want to go to Sunset. 824, 825, the Doug Walters Classic. Walters meant so much to that racetrack for a long time. He was a big part of the Northwest racing community, whether it was asphalt or dirt. I mean, Doug kind of did it all. Doug was known to always had just beautiful, beautiful race cars. Cars were always in top-notch condition. They come off the feature. They go home. When they show up at the track next week, looks like they could go to a car show. I mean, they were always just beautiful, shiny, maintained, on point. His equipment, he was proud of it, and there was a reason that team was so successful for so long, was Doug Walters. And what he did for Sunset, getting that place established as a racetrack and building it up to, or helped to build it up to what it is today. I know that he means a lot to a lot of those fans there, and I know a lot of us miss him. He was a fun guy. So I think that's this. There's been nine years. This will be the 10th annual, I believe. Doug Walters won the first 7, and I think the last 2, he won the first 7 in a row.
Doug.
Not Doug. Greg. Greg,
Uh-huh.
you had me thinking there for a second. Did I say Doug?
You said Doug.
Okay, Greg Walters, Doug's son, won the first 7 in a row. And I think the last 2 years has been Joey Tanner. Am I right when I say that?
I
think Tanner went back-to-back. He's the
think
only
he
guy to beat Walters at that show, I believe.
believe so. I know Joey's listening. Joey, you're going to correct us if we're wrong, but let us know if I'm thinking you're right. I think it's 7-2.
I think that's what it is.
I think it is.
In 9 years, there's been 2 drivers to win it. Now, I'm confident saying that. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Joey's gone back-to-back the last 2 years on that one. Championship night, 9/22. Championship night, they're breaking it up in 2 weeks. So the IMCA Modifieds, Sport Mods, Pure Stocks 4Bs, Micro Sprint 600 Restricted, and Micro Sprint Open. Their championship night is 9/22. Sunset ends the season on 9/29 with Super Late Models, Street Stocks, Pure Stocks, Northwest Dwarfs, 4Bs, and Newbies. That's their championship night. With all the classes they have there, obviously you cannot do that championship night in one day. They could do it in one weekend if they wanted to go Saturday, Sunday.
But who wants to do that?
Who wants to go racing twice in a week? Come on. Cottage Grove, 2018 schedule, highlights. And again, these are just races that I went through and kind of highlighted. If you guys want to jump in and talk about a particular race, feel free. They're going to open their season on 3/17 with a play day. Get out there and practice, and they're going to have the 360 sprints, wingless sprints, late models, limited sprints, IMCA mods, sport mods, street stocks, Hornets, limited sprints, wings, and super sport.
Jeez.
I mean, it's going to be a lot of cars at Cottage Grove on 3/17, weather permitting. That's awful early. Thoughts?
Well, they have a little Hornet challenge there. 4/14.
Well, they opened this season on 3/24. With the season is here and so is racing season opener. 360 sprints, late models, IMCA mods, sport mods, and Hornets for the first week. What race were you pointing out?
On the 14th, the
The Froggy
Hornet
44.
Challenge.
Yep,
Yeah.
Froggy 44 with 360 sprint.